This question: who the hell is Angel Reese? If Angel Reese doesn't wave her hand in her face like this, mocking Caitlin Clark and what Caitlin Clark did to competition in the NCAAs a couple of years ago when LSU ultimately ended up winning the national title. That's what made Angel Reese a household name.
Angel Reese seems to have set her eyes on a daring mission that has fans wondering if Rivalry has officially turned into strategy, just when the WNBA believed the buzz around Caitlin Clark could not get much louder. But is this the start of a real change in power, or is it just more hype creating a rivalry that the court hasn't yet adequately justified? And who really benefits when the game begins to speak louder than the headlines when the attention is this intense?
You think Paige Beckers or Caitlin Clark would get traded for 2 first-round picks coming up in their second or third season in the WNBA?
No.
Absolutely not. There's a reason why that Beckers and Clark have set records that she has. And people telling me out there that rebounds are that important, well, clearly they're not that important because they didn't translate to wins for the Chicago Sky last year. Reese doesn't even compare to those 2 players. She's not a franchise player that you build around. You don't trade a superstar player in a case like that. She's not a superstar player.
And I've been saying that for the longest. Like, people gotta stop.
Highlight reels can give rise to rivalries. Some are made by enthusiasts. Then there are those that seem to have been created by chaos itself. Because something else always takes center stage when the discourse starts to wane. Suddenly, everyone in the basketball world is fighting once more, as though there was never going to be peace.
Her game backs it up, but it ain't like it's 2 shooting guards going against one another, 2 point guards going one against one another, or 2 centers or forwards going up head to head at similar positions against one another. No, Caitlin Clark's a guard. She's the Steph Curry of women's basketball as far as I'm concerned. And Angel Reese is a forward. But the reason why it's a rival is not because of basketball. It's because Angel Reese is willing to chirp and talk that trash and then go on the court and back it up. And you know what it's got us doing? Watching Angel.
And in the midst of that storm is a plot that defies logic, because one side continues to make history at a rate that seems almost unfair, while the other insists that the difference is less than what the results, the tape, and the numbers keep shouting back at everyone who watches. Please subscribe and hit.
This is no longer a team that's rebuilding. When you have Caitlin Clark, this is a spotlight franchise. Expectations change, the opportunity changed, the urgency changed. And when the moment changes, alignment has to change with it. So Coach Stephanie White, this moment requires full commitment. You have a generational player on your hands. And that requires a system that fully leans into her strengths, not one that tries to balance them.
It begins with an audacious assertion that seems less like a realistic sporting goal and more like a headline meant to go viral. In this scene, Angel Reese is depicted as aiming to surpass Caitlin Clark, a player who has not only just joined the league, but has already captured its interest. Every movement abruptly shifted direction, much like gravity.
In March. The Olympics is 2028 in the summer. I think that if you announce that they're on the Olympic team right now, it's going to be more of a distraction going into the WNBA season, and people are going to ask about that. There's no way at least Caitlin Clark doesn't make this team. It's just not going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then I just stand corrected. But we're worrying about what they're announcing the Olympic team in 2026, March, even though you do have to start getting this together and prepping it a couple years early. But you're going to sit here and tell me that 1, 2, 3 NBA seasons, WNBA seasons are going to go by?
Things begin to veer towards satire in response to that goal. Because instead of being a peaceful sports discussion, it turns into a full-fledged cultural conflict masquerading as basketball analysis, with fans taking sides as though the game's future rests on who has the final say on social media. On one side of the debate is Caitlin Clark, a player whose influence is gauged not only by points or assists, but also by how each possession seems to have the potential for something special, as though the game itself stops to see what she will attempt next. Repetition of quality, the kind that gradually becomes expectation and eventually becomes inevitability, is the foundation of her style rather than noise. Because even the defense starts to feel as though it is already one step behind a story that has not yet been completed when she takes the court. Angel Reese, on the other hand, is a player whose presence, personality, and confidence make every moment seem like it's being performed under a spotlight, even when the only thing gleaming is the arena lights. However, when belief in sports is traded too quickly for forecasting, it turns becoming a risky commodity, particularly when the comparison is between a player who is still developing her professional identity and another who is already changing how that identity is defined throughout the league, rather than between two paths that are similar.
Without being a superstar player, because I do think Angel Reese is a superstar when it comes to the name, for sure, without a doubt. But it is levels to this thing. Like, there is a A level, there is a B level, there is a C level. And sometimes people's names elevate them into talking points with other players, but they should never be in the same sentence. Never. That's like if I was trying to compare or trying to put Alana Smith in the same sentence as Angel Whistle.
The other narrative is already actively gathering receipts in real time, stacking performances that transform each game into a new chapter in a continuous statistical argument that doesn't require narration to prove its point, while the first narrative concentrates on future domination. Because Reese's transition from college supremacy to professional adjustment is being closely monitored, the tension there becomes almost theatrical. In contrast, Clark's entry into the league appears to be more of a continuation of something that was already fully developed than an adjustment. Re-established a name at LSU based on her enthusiasm, ability to grab rebounds, and fierce competitiveness. When the discussion turns to the infamous NCAA championship moment, where Reese used the occasion, the crowd, and the tension between two rising stars who realized that the spotlight was not big enough for both of them at the same time, that reality becomes even more apparent. It was audacious. It was sentimental. It was also unforgettable. However, it also turned into one of those moments that, depending on who is narrating it, has a different life. Because rivalry was being stoked before the professional chapter had even started, while one side saw swagger and competitiveness. In the meantime, Clark kept doing what she had been doing all along, transforming games into scoring displays that felt more like controlled experiments in offensive efficiency than individual performances, where each possession carried both structure and unpredictability. The difference persisted even after the two routes eventually met in the workplace. It became more intense. Because reputation is not the only factor in the WNBA's operations. It relies on adaptation, which compels defenders to continually choose between poor and worse options. She has become one of the most highly watched rookies in recent memory due to her ability to score goals while also creating for teammates. With each game, additional information is added to a developing case that no longer seems speculative.
There's no way on any type of earth that you think that Angel Reese is a better basketball than Clayton Clark. I want to put that out there right now. I don't know why.
Thank you. I'm glad you're getting out of it, but that'd be my problem on Twitter and Threads and stuff.
That's what we're telling you, bro. That's what we're telling you.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, I'm glad. As long as everybody know that Caitlin Clark is a better basketball player.
Said that several times. It's not close.
No, but here's my thing. While I agree with you, I think that clouds the conversation.
G. Reese, on the other hand, has been navigating the more challenging reality of a professional transfer when consistency, rather than talent, is questioned since the league has a tendency to remove narrative until just performance is left. Off the court, the narrative takes a different turn into contemporary sports branding, where visibility can occasionally equal performance in terms of attention. Reese's social presence and partnerships make sure she stays firmly in the cultural conversation even when the basketball discourse becomes less tolerant. Then there's the money discussion, which consistently manages to stoke an already raging argument about WNBA pay as part of a broader discourse about value, visibility, and what it means to be a professional athlete in a league that is still struggling for equal respect. Not because it is out of the ordinary, but rather because it touches on a larger discussion about expectations versus earnings in women's sports, where every public statement is immediately transformed into cultural analysis. Reese's candor about financial realities becomes another talking point.
I just think that it's like comparing apples and oranges. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
at least
they don't play the same position.
They like doing the like Magic and the Bird comparison. Well, they played similar positions. Like Bird, he played the guard position. Like they at least kind of match up. This, like, what are we doing? I'm not falling into that. I'm not into the comparison. I think that there are a number of things that Angel can improve on, will improve on in the situation she's in. And I think Caitlin Clark has done that even in her first year in terms of, being able to be that floor general. Her and Aaliyah Boston's connection has really improved. And I think the thing about Caitlin, yes, she can shoot from the logo, but
The idea that one player is creating a brand while the other is creating a legacy that is still being worked on is reinforced by Clark's continued emphasis on performance and growth. The training narrative, on the other hand, frequently portrays top coaching relationships as quick routes to success, as though working with well-known trainers inevitably condenses years of progress into a single off-season makeover. However, shortcuts are rarely respected in basketball since, in elite settings, improvement is more about how quickly you can transform instruction into execution under pressure that doesn't pause for development than it is about who is teaching you. This becomes particularly pertinent when conversations turn to new competitive and scrutinized sports that don't wait for tolerance. Every game becomes a platform and a pressure test at the same time since it requires instant proof. Clark, meanwhile, keeps working in an environment where her influence is already well established. Additionally, each performance adds a new layer to a reputation that is continuously strengthened, developed, and enhanced rather than being created.
A lot of Indiana Fever fans were noticing that the Indiana Fever play the Atlanta Dream 4 times this season, and that's more than they play any other team. And this schedule was announced before it was known that Angel Reese would have been going to the Atlanta Dream. And as we saw in the first 2 years of both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's career, the WNBA set it up so that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark were playing each other so many times throughout the season. Like, those were the biggest games that they continued to hype up. So many fans are saying, like, did Kathy know something? Did Kathy